Shalom, how's everyone doing? Today's day 26 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we'll be learning Siman Seif. Okay, let's begin. A person should be modest in the bathroom. He shouldn't reveal himself until he sits down. And even then, he should only reveal what he has to reveal, to make sure he doesn't ruin his clothing. A person should be careful of this at night, just like he is during the day. If somebody's going to dolim in a open area, meaning there are no walls, he should make sure he's facing south and his back is towards the north. Or the other way around. If he's either facing east or west, that is going to be aser. However, if there is a wall, any direction is fine, as long as his back is towards the wall. And go kitanim is mutter in every situation. A person shouldn't go gedolim in front of anybody, even in front of a guy. But to go kitanim, it's allowed, even in public, even in front of people, if you have to. Why are we more makel? It's very dangerous to hold oneself back from going kitanim. Nevertheless, even though we allow you to go in public, a person should try to at least go to the side. Fine. So this whole Seif of the Kitzur is talking about in Yom of Tznius, right? That person should be modest. And I'll just quote the smak. Right? This is the smak in mitzvah. Nazayin, he has a list of mitzvos, what he considers mitzvos d'oraisa, Torah mitzvos, and this is what he says. He says one of the mitzvos is lios tzanua. A person should be modest. What's the pasuk? There's a pasuk in the Torah that says your camp should be holy. It also says you should walk modestly with Hashem. Okay, so there's a mitzvah of tznius. Right, there's a quote from the Gemara in Brachos that who is somebody who has tznius, who is somebody who's modest, who fulfilled this mitzvah of modesty? It's somebody who's tznius in the bathroom. Okay, so that's it's an important thing to have tznius in the bathroom. So the first thing the Kitzur talks about only revealing what he has to. And this is actually a whole Gemara in Maseches Brachos. It's on Daf Chav Gimel Amriz. It has a whole thing about how much you're allowed to reveal when you go to the bathroom. I'll just say what Shulchan Aruch says. This is sums of the Gemara. It says, that when a person goes to the bathroom, he's only allowed to, right, when he's going gedolim, he's only allowed to reveal behind him a tefach, and in front of him 2 tefachim. Why? So, because that's what you have to reveal. Right, behind you a tefach, right, you're going gedolim, so it comes out behind you, so you reveal what you have to, 1 tefach, and in front of you, you reveal 2 tefachim, because when a person goes gedolim, also katanim comes out, and katanim you can't really measure, it just goes whatever direction it wants, so therefore you have to reveal more. But 1 tefach, 2 tefachim, that's a very small amount, very small. And it doesn't really apply these days. So, if you look in the Ben Ish Chai, Parshas Vayetze, he says as follows. He says, Bezman hazeh, Dal harov kol batei kasios yesh ben mechitzos v'del asagor. Our bathrooms all have walls, all have closed doors. Therefore, ein makpidin be'inyan hagiloi kol kach. A person does not have to be so careful about this halacha of only revealing what is necessary. Right? Let's explain. In the times of the Gemara, the bathrooms were in very public places. They were not very tzenua places. Therefore, in order to, have this idea of sneezing in the bathroom, we were only allowed to reveal what we really had to, just to show that we were being tsanua. That was in the back days of the Gemara. In our days, our bathrooms are already very tsanua. So we don't, according to the Ben Ish Chai, one does not have to work overly hard to be extra tsanua, because our bathrooms are already tznius. And he says, and even the Kitzur says this idea, that a person really shouldn't get his clothes dirty, right? If he's focused on only revealing a very little part of his body, he might end up getting his clothes dirty, which is very bad. Therefore, this halacha is probably not so relevant these days. That's the first thing the Kitzur talks about. Then the Kitzur talks about the direction one goes specifically Gedolim in. And this is another Gemara. This is a Gemara in Brachos, Daf Samech Aleph Amud Beis. The Gemara says that when one goes Gedolim, one has to face either north or south, not east or west. But if you look in the Gemara, there's different opinions. Maybe that only applies in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe that only applies to Zman Beis HaMikdash. It's a whole discussion. We seem to hold like Rabbi Akiva, that's Osir B'chol Makom and B'chol Zman. That Rabbi Akiva holds that this halach applies wherever you are, any generation. That one has to be careful not to go to the bathroom facing north or south. What's the reason? So Rashi in Brachos Daf Hey and Beis says the reason is because in the Beis HaMikdash, the holiest part of the Beis HaMikdash was the Kodesh Kodashim. Where was the Kodesh Kodashim of the Beis HaMikdash? The west. So we have this idea that the Shechina is b'Ma'ariv, the Shechina is in the west. Therefore, obviously, when one's going Gedolim, his back, that's where it comes out. His back shouldn't be facing the west. That's where the Shechina is. The Shechina is b'Ma'ariv. So that's obvious. Why can't his back be to the east? Because the east is opposite the west. So the east also has this holiness. So therefore, the west and the east have this holiness. One shouldn't face those directions when one goes Gedolim. Therefore, one faces north or south. But what's the one heter the Kitzur says? The Kitzur says, if there are walls, which are bathrooms have walls, then you can really go any direction you want. And where does this heter come from? So if you look in the Rush, Tosfos, they say, B'pshitas, if there are walls, this whole halacha doesn't apply, right? Because you're already covered by the walls, so there's no problem facing west or east. And it's the Yerushalmi says Mefurish, there's no problem if there are walls. Who disagrees with this heter? Happens to be the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchos Beis Bechira says that he just brings down the halachas down that one shouldn't face west or east when he goes Gedolim. Right, if you look at the Beis Yosef, the Beis Yosef says, the Rambam holds that this halacha applies even if there are walls. He doesn't hold like this to Yerushalmi. However, if you look in Shulchan Aruch says, Im nefne b'makom megula, she'en bo mechitzos, yechavi and she'en panav l'dar ma'achol m'safon. This halacha, we paskin like the Rush and like Tosfos, that this halacha only applies if you're going to the bathroom in an open area, but if there are walls, one does not have to be careful. Okay, that's number 2. The third thing the Kitzur is dealing with, he's dealing with a halacha that one is not able to at least go Gedolim specifically in front of other people. And this is another Gemara in Brachos, Samech Beis. Okay, it's there's different opinions about how far away you have to go from people, right? We have to understand that their bathrooms were more of an open area. So there's different halachos, like how far away you have to go from people when you use the bathroom, when you go Gedolim, right? But what the Gemara does say, at least according to Ula, Shulchan Aruch quotes it, Kishnifne basadeh, let's say you're going to the bathroom in a field, Imhu achorei hagader yifne miyad. If the wall is blocking you and another person, that is okay. You can go to the bathroom immediately. You could go Gedolim immediately, and that is going to be okay. But then he says something interesting. He says this idea that when it comes to Kitanim, you're allowed to go even immediately, right? Because he says there's a sakana, right? The sakana we discussed yesterday is because there's an idea that Chazal say that if somebody holds himself from going Kitanim too long, it could actually cause one to lose their ability to have children. Therefore, we are more mekel in regards to tznius when it comes to going Kitanim, and we could just say you could go wherever you want. I just quoted Gemara on this topic in Bechoros Daf Mem Daled Reis. There's this case of Marbar Rashi who was going to make Kitanim, and then they told him, Amru lei chamasech ka'asya. Wait, watch out, your mother-in-law is coming. So he says, Amar lehu ba'odnei. He said, if I have to, I'd even go Kitanim in her ear. Right? That's why. Why? Because there's a sakana involved, right? The Chazal, they allowed one to go Kitanim, even in front of other people, because of this sakana, as opposed to Gedolim, where you really cannot go in front of other people. But as the Kitzur writes, he adds 3 words. He says, Im tzarech lekach. Right? He says you're only able to go in front of other people if you really have to. Right? What does that mean? So this is coming from the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram says, Im tzarech lekach, if you have to. Im tzarech lekach. So Rav Moshe talks about this in the Tshuva. This is in Igros Moshe, Yerodea, Chelek Gimel, Sim Mem Zayin. He writes over there, he says, Me'ikar Adin, when it comes to Ketanim, you can go you can go in front of people. Right? He says that you don't really have to go to a private bathroom to go ketanim. But he says, Mikal makom, min haroi leilech gam lahatalas mayim lebeis hakisei shna'aseh ligdolim. L'chadchila you should. Right? Because he points out that the Magen Avram says, Im tzarech l'kach. What does Im tzarech l'kach mean? If you have no other choice, right? That there's no bathrooms around. So you just go where you can. You go in public. But if there is a choice, right? Like in our day and age, there's so many bathrooms around. So there always is a choice to go in a private area. He says, you should. He says, Yushma, at least Yushmaim should. And he says, Aval kishnes damin shaleka beisakisi v'mechitzos panoi. If there's no bathroom, there's no bathroom. And then we revert back to this din of the Gemara, that's fine. And then he adds the line. What's he referring to? Is that sometimes you can go into a bathroom and there are places that are miyuchad for going ketanim, right? There are urinals that are miyuchad for going ketanim. And sometimes those urinals, there's no separation. There's no wall between one and the next. So Rav Moshe says, that's not lechadchila. Right? Lechadchila is that even when it comes to ketanim, we try not to go ketanim in front of other people. Therefore, when you build these bathrooms, you should actually make sure that there is a separation in between each urinal to make sure you don't go in front of other people. Okay.